So I frequently show the games that I won, so I thought for a change it would be really good to show a game that I lost, and this is a very instructive loss. It shows how the knowledge that you think you have about the opening is actually very vague, and you really need to focus and try to remember the theory that you studied a long time ago. And if you don't remember the exact moves and play similar moves, you may lose the game very quickly. So I was playing white in this game, and I had high hopes for the game. So the open variation of the Spanish game is something that I play myself as well. So d4 is the usual move here, and usually here black plays b5, and then after bishop b3 he goes d5, and this is kind of the tabby of this variation. But in the game, my opponent played something else. He played e takes d4, which is known as the Riga variation. I studied this line about 10 years ago, and I remember that white gets a slightly better position in the end of a long forced variation. I remember that it started with rook e1, so black has to defend the knight on d4, which he does. That opens up the diagonal against the king, so I get to take on d4 with the knight. And the whole variation is based on a tactical idea that black can ignore temporarily the pressure on c6 and can play the aggressive move bishop d6. So that's all theory. The bishop taking on h2. Knight c6 is also theory. I can take the piece while it's offered. Here black's queen is attacked, and he has to react very precisely. Bishop h2, and here I intuitively thought, okay, I knew that I cannot take it. If I take it, then black gets to choose. He can either make the immediate draw after king h2, queen h4, king g1, queen f2, and he can force repetition, or he can force me into a bad square and then carry on with the attack, like maybe castle here or do something like this. So it's really bad to take on h2. And I thought I remembered the move, and I fairly quickly played king to f1, which is a mistake. I thought that intuitively I should avoid playing king to h1 because of the fork and so on, and I kind of forgot that the knight is pinned. And to my horror, I realized that there's some problems after king f1. Black goes queen h4, so that the queen is not attacked anymore. And here I thought I remembered the variation that goes rook e4, d takes e4, and here I thought the first variation is that the white plays queen d8 to relieve the pressure against his king that forces the exchange. Exchanges, the attacked knight from c6 is escaping as well, and here I thought that somehow I'm supposed to get this bishop on h2, and I realized that I can't really directly capture it, and I'm just going to be down a piece. And if I play something like g3, then bishop h3, and I'm not getting that bishop anytime soon, I'm losing here. So I realized that, and at this point I realized that the right move was actually king to h1, and this is exactly the variation that happens then. Then black goes queen to h4, then I go rook e4, d takes, queen d8, and here I do get this bishop on h2 in one move, and the material balance is white has two pieces for rook and two pawns, and this is a pleasant position for white. This is the position that I had in mind, but this is not the one that I went for, because I played the wrong move. with the king. And once I realized this, the game is kind of going downhill. There's the threat of mate, so again I have no choice, so I sacrifice, and again now queen d8 doesn't make any sense. So I tried to carry on a little bit, but the game is really kind of gone in the wrong direction, and the position is still fairly complicated, but because I was so upset about the false memory, the false knowledge that I had about the opening, I lost without much resistance. Queen d5, castle, and now the material is about even, but I have too many hanging pieces, and my king is also quite weak. I try to complicate things and trying to get my pieces out, basically, because they're all stuck there, but black finds a nice response. Now my queen is attacked, so I don't have time to capture on h4, so I have to capture back. Now it seems like black is in trouble because he has the queen hanging and the rook is hanging, but actually all my pieces are way too loose. And after this, it turns out, after queen h5, it turns out that I have to face some very unpleasant threats against my own king. But I have no choice. I'm down material, so I have to take the rook. And now all my pieces are hanging. I really have no way of stopping the check on c4. Bishop c4. Have to go, and now black found a nice way to wrap up the game. My queen is really overloaded. It's guarding the bishop. It's guarding against checkmate on e2, and there are also some threats of possibly checkmate on the back rank. So black found a really nice way to capitalize on the loose placement of all my pieces, and he played bishop to f4. Now I realize that this is all over, and if I take with the bishop, then there's mate on h1. That's no fun. What I played is also no fun, but I was hoping that black would play queen h1 in return, but he didn't. So after queen f4, he played queen e2, and I lost the game with white in 18 moves against a low-rated player. So that happened, and we sometimes have a feeling that we know the variation, but we just don't remember a tiny detail, and that tiny detail like this tiny detail about where the king should go and how the variation goes, if you don't remember it and you try to make it up thinking you remember it, you will quite likely get it wrong. So you either have to calculate it over the board to the end, or you have to remember it kind of better than I did. So that's a good lesson for me, definitely.